Hello and welcome to Drill and Kill. That's correct, my friend. This is where we drill until we kill all the mistakes. So, without further ado, let's get on to our first problem. Alrighty, my friends, here we go. 3/8 divided by 1/4. So, the first thing I want to do is make some room and create my big old fraction box. So, here I've got 3/8, so I want to make 8 parts, which gives me 7 lines, right? So here we go. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 lines. Gives me 8 parts. I get 3 out of those 8. So let's go ahead and color in 3 of the 8. And bam! There I have it. I got 1, 2, 3 out of 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I want to create 1/4 parts, right? So 4 parts means 3 lines, and I'll do that. 1, 2, and 3 lines gives me 1, 2, 3, and 4 parts. Now I'm curious how many 1/4 parts I can create. So let's go ahead and circle just 1/4 here and see how much I've got. And I've got just 3 here, but I've got all these that I can move. I'm going to grab these 3 here and get rid of them. So I'm going to just get rid of those there. So they're no longer there, right? And I'm going to put them 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to get rid of this. I only need 2 more, right? So I'm going to get rid of these 2 here, and I'm going to put them right up on the top. So let's get rid of them first. So I'll get rid of those, and I'm going to put them right here. Bam. And now, as you see, I've got one whole 1/4 part, right? Excellent. So I've got 1 here. Now I've got this one here. I'm going to move it over here. So let's watch how I do that. I'm going to take this and just get rid of it here. And then I'm going to move it right here. And then I can count these up. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 out of, I would need 5, 6, 7, 8, 4/8 to complete another whole 1/4, right? So in order to make this full, I would need 8, but I only have 4 of them. That means I've got 1 and 4/8, and as we know, 4/8 is really 1/2, right? Because 4 is exactly half of 8. But let's go ahead and look at how that would be reduced if we use the giant 1, right? So I'm going to create a big old giant 1, and then I'm going to put 4 over 4 in there, right? And that's going to give me a new mixed number. 1 divided by 1 will give me 1 right here. And then 4 divided by 4 gives me 1, right? And 8 divided by 4 gives me 2. So I've got 1 and 1/2, which is, here's your 1, and then this is half of this whole part here, right? So I get 1 and 1/2. Bam! That is your answer. Hey, let's go ahead and look how this would work if we did the big old algorithm. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite this as 3/8, but I'm going to multiply the reciprocal. So I'm going to change this to multiplication and multiply the reciprocal, which means I flip this bad boy upside down. And I'm going to get 4 over 1. And then you just multiply like normal. Multiply your numerators and multiply your denominators. And 3 times 4 is going to give me 12. And 8 times 1 will give me 8. And as you notice, this is a top-heavy or improper fraction. So I can think of fractions in 3 ways. 12/8, 12 out of 8, or in this case, 12 divided by 8. And that's what I'm going to do right now, my friends. So I'm going to go 12 divided by 8. 8 will go into 12 one time, which actually gives me 8. And then I subtract. And 12 minus 8 is 4. So your remainder becomes your numerator, right? And then your divisor becomes your denominator. And voila, 1 and 4/8 agrees with our mathematical model right here of 1 and 4 out of 8. Perfect. So this is how you would solve the problem if you did multiply your reciprocal, right? Multiply the reciprocal right there. What if I use the strategy of mountains and valleys? Well, let's go ahead and see how that would look. And I'm going to just make my mountain first. I'm going to go 8 times 1 is going to give me a denominator of 8. And then I'm going to make my valley. 3 times 4 is going to give me a numerator of 12. And lo and behold, my friends, 12 agrees with 12 So whether you use mountains and valleys or the strategy of multiplying the reciprocal, you would end up with 12 and then that, of course, would get simplified to 1 and 4 which is the same as our mathematical model, and that, of course, gets simplified to 1 and 1/2. Bam! There you have it, my friends. Hey, if you made a mistake anywhere along the way, no worries at all. Pause the video, fix your mistake. That is the fastest way to learn. And now, let's move on to problem number 2. And we're off. 5/9 divided by 1/2. So I want to create my first fraction box, right, of 5/9. And I'm going to shrink this so I got a little bit more room and make that big old fraction box. Da-da-da-da. There we have it, my friends. Now I want to make 9 parts, which means I'll draw 8 lines. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 lines. Gives me 9 parts. I get 5 out of those 9, so I'm going to color in 5 of them. And I'm going to start here, go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and bring it straight on across. And then I got to move it this way. And as you can see, my line is off here, so I'm going to cheat here and just kind of fill this bad boy in like that. And then voila, it's all set. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 out of 6, 7, 8, and 9. Perfection, my friends. All right, so now I want to see how many 1/2s are in here. In order to create 2 parts, I'm going to draw 1 line right down the center, and now I've got 2 parts, right? So I am looking at trying to fill one of those first, right? Let's see if I can fill up this whole box here. So I'm going to I need to move 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to grab 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to grab those bottom 4 there, and we're going to just move those 4 so they're out of here, and now they're going to get moved right in here, and bam! As you see, I've got 1 whole 1/2, right? So that's 1 whole 1/2. And then I've got just this 1 left over, 1 out of, and I would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I would need 9 to fill it. So I've got 1 and 1/9. Bam! 1 and 1/9. And that, my friends, is your answer. Hey, this is the mathematical model. Let's go ahead and look at what the algorithm would look like. Da, 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 da. So we'll do multiplying the reciprocal first. So I'm going to start by just copying this down as it is. So 5/9, but then I'm going to multiply instead of divide. So I'm going to multiply the reciprocal, which means I'm going to flip this bad boy right upside down. So the 2 goes on top and the 1 goes on the bottom. And then I multiply like normal. I multiply my numerators and my denominators. So let's go ahead and do that. 5 times 2 is going to give me 10. And then 9 times 1 is 9. And as you know, this is a top-heavy or improper fraction. So that means I can think of fractions in 3 ways. 10/9, 10 out of 9, or in this case, 10 divided by 9. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now, my friends. 10 divided by 9. 9 will go in there exactly 1 time. Actually, not exactly, because I got a remainder, right? So 10 minus 9 is going to give me 1. And then your remainder becomes your numerator, right? So I'm going to put my numerator right there. I'm going to make that 1 bigger. And then your divisor becomes your denominator, right? So I've got my 9 there. And 1 and 1/9 agrees. Let's make sure. with our mathematical model of 1 and 1/9, and that is always beautiful, my friend. All right, so this is when you use the algorithm of multiplying the reciprocal. What if you use the strategy of mountains and valleys? Well, let's go ahead and do that right now, and I'm going to go ahead and write my mountain first. 9 times 1 is going to give me 9 for my denominator, and then my valley, 5 times 2 is going to give me 10 for my numerator, and lo and behold, 10/9 agrees with multiplying the reciprocal of 10/9. Either way, these would get simplified to 1 and 1/9, which agrees with our mathematical model, and that is always wonderful and very, very beautiful, my friends. Hey, if you made a mistake anywhere along the way, no worries at all. Pause the video, fix your mistake. That is the fastest way to learn. And now, let's move on to problem number 3. And here we go, my friends. 3/7 divided by 5/6. So, first thing I want to do is go ahead and create my fraction box, right? And I'm going to create 3/7 first. So, let's go ahead and do that right now. And bam, there we have it. Now, I want to make 7 parts, which means I'll draw 6 lines. And here we go. I've got to get my pencil, don't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 lines. Gives me 7 parts. I get 3 out of those 7. So I'm going to go ahead and color in the bottom 3 parts, right? And voila, my friend. I've got 1, 2, 3 out of 4, 5, 6, and 7. Perfection. Okay, now I'm curious how many 5/6 are in here. So I got to cut this into 6 parts going up and down. 6 parts means 5 lines. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines should give me 6 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? So now I am curious how many 5/6 are in there, right? So I'm going to color, actually I'm going to circle the first 5, right? And here we go, right up. And now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So that's 5/6. Now, I've got 3 over here, so I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to actually not get rid of them. I'm going to move them, right? So they're moved from there. Now they're not there, and I'm going to fill them in these 3 spots right here. Bam, perfect. So now I just got to count the blue versus the whole thing, right? And let's do that right now. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And then 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 out of the entire box, right? Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 times 7 is 35. So I have 18 out of the 35. And bam, that, my friends, is your answer. 18 out of 35, or 18/35. Now, that is how your mathematical model should look. Let's go ahead and see what the algorithm would look like, my friends. All right, so first I'm going to do multiplying the reciprocal. I'm going to write the same problem here, or the beginning anyway, 3/7, and then I'm going to multiply instead of divide. I'm going to multiply the reciprocal, which means I'm going to flip this bad boy upside down. 6 over 5. And then I simply multiply like normal. Multiply your numerators and multiply your denominators. And 3 times 6 is going to give me 18. And 7 times 5 is going to give me 35. And look at that, my friends. 18/35 agrees with our mathematical model right there of 18 out of 35. Perfection. I love it. All right. Now, let's go ahead and use the other strategy of mountains and valleys. So I'll create my mountain first, and I'm going to go 7 times 5 is going to give me a denominator of 35. And then I make my valley, and I got 3 times 6 is going to give me my numerator of 18. And lo and behold, 18/35 agrees with 18/35, which agrees with 18/35 right down here. Perfection, my friends. All right, hey, as always, if you made a mistake anywhere along the way, no worries at all, my friends. Pause the video, fix your mistake. That is the fastest way to learn. And now, let's move on to problem number 4. And here we go, my friends. 5/6 divided by 1/4. And you know by now, the first thing we want to do is create that big old fraction box, right? Now, I'm going to create this fraction first, so I want to make 6 parts, which means I draw 5 lines. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lines gives me 6 parts. I get 5 out of those 6. So let's go ahead and color in 5 of the 6 parts. And, oh, you can see my lines are a little off, aren't they, my friends? All right, well, no worries at all, because I'm going to fix that. All right, so now what I'm going to do is cheat a little bit, and I'm going to fill in this line a little better. And who said cheating was bad, huh? Oh, only in certain circumstances, right, like this one. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6. Perfection. All right, now I want to know how many 1/4 are in here, right? So I got to cut this into 4 parts. 4 parts means 3 lines. So I've got 1, 2, and 3 lines. And that gives me 1, 2, 3, and 4 parts. Perfect. All right, so now I'm going to start looking for the 1/4. I'm going to circle them. So I'm going to circle this one first. And right there, that's 1. Now it's not whole, right? I'm going to take 1 from here and move it over here. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to get rid of it here, and I'm going to move it right on up here, right? Perfect. So now this one is gone. I've moved it over here. Now I'm going to move this one right here, and watch how I do that. Actually, I'm going to just scribble it out this time. Scribble out, and then I'm going to move it right here. And now, lo and behold, look, I've got a second group of 1/4, right? Remember, I'm making groups of 1/4 here, right? And now I've got another one I can move up here, right? So I'm going to take this one away, and I'm going to move it right over here. And now, as you see, I've got another group of 1/4, right? So I've got 1, I like to make my ones like that, 2, and 3 whole 1/4, and then I've got 1, 2, 1, 2 out of, I would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 out of 6 another groups, that's really good English, another groups of 1/4. So let's go ahead and write this. It ends up being 3 and 2, 6 groups of 1/4, right? Now, as you see, 2 can go into itself and it can go into 6, so it's a factor of 6, which means I can reduce or simplify this mixed number here by using the giant 1, and I'm going to divide by 2 over 2, and that will give me a new mixed number. And then I'm going to take 3 divided by 1 is going to give me 3, right? Oh, let's make the equal sign. And then I'm going to take 2 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 1. And then I'm going to take 6 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 3, right? So you end up with the simplified mixed number of 3 1/3. That is a simplified form. However, this right here is your mathematical model 3 and 2, 6, right? Let's go ahead and look at what this would look like if you did your algorithm. And we'll do 2 ways. First, we'll do multiplying the reciprocal. So let's make a little more room here, and I'm going to rewrite this problem, 5, 6, and then I'm going to multiply, instead of divide, I'm going to multiply the reciprocal. So I'm going to go multiply the reciprocal. And you noticed I kind of got choked up. I couldn't even say reciprocal because I was so excited about doing this problem. All right, so multiply the reciprocal means I flip this bad boy upside down. So I'm going to go 4 over 1, and then you just multiply like normal. Multiply your numerators and multiply your denominators. 5 times 4 is going to give me 20. And then 6 times 1 is going to give me 6, right? And as you notice, this is a top-heavy or improper fraction, right? So think of fractions in 3 ways: 26, 20 out of 6, or in this case, 20 divided by 6. And that's exactly what we're going to do. And let's go ahead and write that right on over here. And we're going to go 20 divided by 6. And 6 will go into 23 times, which gives me 18, right? And then when I subtract, I got 20 minus 18 is 2, right? And lo and behold, you take your remainder, and that becomes your numerator, right? So I'll put my 2 right there. And then your divisor becomes your denominator. And look at this, 3 and 2/6 agrees with our mathematical model right there of 3 and 2 out of 6. Perfection, my friends. All right, so this is multiplying the reciprocal. Let's use mountains and valleys. So I'm going to make my mountain first. 6 times 1 is going to give me a denominator of 6. And then my valley, 5 times 4 gives me a numerator of 20. And whether you use mountains and valleys or multiply the reciprocal, you end up with 26. And then that, of course, gets simplified to 3 and 2/6, which is the same as our mathematical model. But wait, I'm not done. And then that gets simplified to 3 and 1/3. Perfection, my friends. Hey, this is our final problem of this video. If you made a mistake anywhere along the way, pause the video, fix your mistake. That is the fastest way to learn. Until next time, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you soon.